for people who can't make it. I know we have, okay, Cliff is joining us. I think we have quite a few that were going to join us for this one. So Leon, if you want to just kind of start off, maybe just tell everybody, kind of a little bit about yourself, and then I'm sure there'll be some questions and things that people have.
Yep. Happy to do that.
Welcome, everyone. Today we have with us Leon, is it Sabarski?
Mm-hmm.
And Leon is in Tampa Bay, Florida. So
Stanley Cup winners.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The cup is making its rounds everywhere. They're putting it on the water. They're jet skiing with it. They're doing all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Always some fun stuff with that. That's good. So tell us about your coaching journey, Leon, how you got started into it.
So, for me, I started off in IT in the mid 90s, and quickly started working on projects, and got really frustrated with how projects were being done, and stumbled on Agile and Scrum. In fact, it's one of those things. Has anybody ever seen a UFO? Anybody? So I haven't either, but what I've heard is if you've seen a UFO, you really want to have somebody else with you, because pretty much every time it's only by yourself, right? So I felt like Agile was like UFOs. So, and I decided to take the Scrum class, and I didn't know what it was, but I convinced the most sane person at my company to go with me, because I could be discounted, but he couldn't. So so that's very important, I think, on your journey, is always for UFO, bring somebody else. Scrum class, bring somebody else. And I was like, can we do this? I think we can. So I started my first team in 2008. My first coach was Bob Galen, and again, I didn't know Bob was Bob. From that, what I quickly realized is that it was really powerful to start up new teams, to give them support, and then also to coach them to improvement, because there wasn't a lot of that going on. And so from, I'd say, 2008 to about 2012-13, I really got to know the Agile environment, really spun up a bunch of teams, had done transformations elsewhere. And I quickly got into coaching, because that's where I saw changes occurring. So I started coaching teams. I was doing it informally, in 2008, 9, 10. I started getting more intentional about it, starting, in 2010, 11, 13. And then I started getting more serious about Agile coaching probably in 2014, 15, in both the Agile team space, but also coaching in the individual space. Probably the last 3 years, I've been doing more individual coaching. What I found is, as you're coaching teams, people will inevitably come up to you and ask for personal coaching of some sort, career, personal, and then how do they fit in with the team? And you almost, I think, have to coach differently one-on-one versus coaching team. And if you use the same approach, you might not get the results you want. So where I'm at in my journey right now is, having been in sort of the team coaching camp, now in individual coaching camp, I really want to bring that together so that we're thinking about coaching from a team and individual perspective, but thinking about it a little differently depending on what you're doing. So that's my journey so far. I'm still learning. As long as we have humans involved, there's more to learn about coaching. So questions, comments about my history, experience, journey, what I'm doing in the future?
So I know you mentioned coaching from teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, how do you, like, I'm trying to find the best way to say it. You know, a lot of organizations says, yes, we are agile, we're trying to be agile, but we are just implementing that agile mindset uh, within the team levels, but from an enterprise level, we are not seeing those implementation, right? Or from the leadership, there hasn't been bigger push. So there, I feel like there's always a gap. We say we're agile within the team, but as an enterprise, we are not agile. So how do you overcome? Or when you're coaching, you are not just coaching your team, but I believe somehow coaching means you're coaching your POs as well. You're somehow
And
helping your
executives.
yeah
And
uh,
executives.
leaderships as well.
Yes.
So how do you, so you are technically touching the agile implementation from an enterprise aspect as well. So how does it play, like, what are the difference between coaching versus the implementation within an enterprise?
Yeah. I mean, so at the team level, people are saying, wow, this is a new way to work, right? I'm working in a new way, and it encompasses their whole work experience. So, so it envelops you, right? And it's a very different experience, though, at the middle management level and at the executive level. Middle management level, often what happens is their people are taken away. They no longer have delivery responsibility. So oftentimes agile transformations struggle or fail because we've forgotten about middle management, haven't provided a role for them, haven't really described what they're supposed to do in this new world. And then on the executive side, executives really see this, in my experience, as sort of a means to an end. So, if I'm an executive, I'm like, what am I going to get out of Agile? Think about that. Now, what are they looking for? They're looking for speed. They could be looking for consistency or quality. They could be looking for more revenue or lower costs. But it's the same filter that they have today for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think that's the thing. If you go to executives say, well, I'm really jazzed because I'm working better, it's hard for them to understand that and what the value of that is. So at each level, understanding your audience, understanding what's in it for them, and then pitching Agile to them in a little different way. That's how I approach transformations now.
So that's a very good point that you brought up about the middle management, right? And I feel like that's where we struggle the most, because team, let's say I'm working as a scrum master, or I'm helping the team. So at the end of the day, let's say I'm their manager. So we have an company-wise, we haven't, let's say we have this project, or we are saying from the senior leadership, okay, we are going to be more agile now. I'm telling my team they're going to be listening or following those steps, right? But how do you help or mentor the middle management?
Yeah, I think number one, it really helps to have someone at the executive level provide the air cover for them. They need some guidance at the executive level to say, okay, this is where we're going. Because if they don't have that, there's going to be skepticism on are we really going this way? So they need some indication that, hey, we're going this way. It's important. My executives think it's important. So now I think it's important. That's kind of number one. And then number two, you need to have some idea about what is their new role going to be. Are they going to be trying to resolve big impediments that teams can't resolve, that it's more enterprise-like? Are they going to be supporting the teams in day-to-day? Maybe there's, any type of defects or sub 1, sub 2s, P1s, P2s, whatever. Are they going to be supporting that? Or are they going to be looking at, from an organizational perspective, how we, instantiate this agile organization? Or it could be a combination of things. So thinking about what is their role for them, and very, very importantly, you have to instantiate that in HR. So their job descriptions, their titles, their roles, and their bonuses are based on the agile transformation in some way that's directly related to them.
Right. Yep, and that's why the job description changes, especially in organization when they're saying, you know what, we're gonna approach with agile mindset right now, but what happens to the program manager, like not program manager, sorry, the product manager they
Sure.
used to be. Now they're the product owner, right? So if you're thinking in an traditional way, what product owners responsibility should be, now we have a BA sitting in the team as well, right? So
Mhm.
what's the job description for the BA versus the product owner? There's so many questions that comes up.
Yeah, and it helps to provide a guide for some of that, at least a guide at first, and be able to flesh that out. It might be different, a little bit different for each organization. I've also done a lot of work at flexing roles. So I might start off with a specific BA role, but one of the roles I flex very often are BAs and testers. So we'll talk about what that new organization looks like. It is more blurry in terms of defined roles. We'll start off with a defined role BA, but where are we going? We're going with BAs and testers are flexing.
Right.
And everybody's not in a defined role. So BAs and testers could flex, developers can flex to a tester, especially if you're doing automated testing. So, or test first or test-driven development. So those are things to think about, but providing a vision or a guide, but allowing for some empowerment and ambiguity so that they can craft it or mold it in some way is very important. Because if I impose it upon you, then I might be resistant to it.
Okay.
I was going to bring up some other types of things for that. Let me see what I got. But I think understanding that you need to have a little different what's in it for me at the team, at the middle management, and at the executive level. Very important.
Yeah, because they're looking for different things, aren't they, Leon?
Yep. And yeah, and they're get bonused on different things.
Yeah.
So you literally have to think about, if you're not thinking about how they're bonused and incented, then the transformation won't succeed.
Right. You mentioned that what's in it for the executives and the team, right? And
Yep.
so you're mentioning mostly for the middle management, it's solely based on kind of the incentive they're getting out of it, like the bonus structure, right? How?
Well, yeah, but also you're asking them to do something completely differently that they didn't necessarily buy into at first, and B, their status is based on having team members report to them and directing them to do things.
Right.
You are taking away their status. You are taking away what they may have wanted the job in the first place for. And you're saying, guess what? You're doing something new. So you have to kind of check in with them and say, do you even is this okay? Like we're taking big stuff away from you. When you have one-on-ones with your people, most managers talk about delivery most of the time. They don't talk about, let's look at your professional career and your personal career and your personal goals. Let's take up the whole hour with that. Usually not. They do coaching or they do stuff because they have to, because HR tells them to do. But most organizations I run into, managers love to talk about delivery. Well, you're taking away all of that from them. So of course they're going to be against this. This is not what I came in for. And unless you create almost a new status of saying, well, we can't do this without you because team members can't resolve all impediments by themselves. There are enterprise impediments that we need to look at. We need to look at the vision for a group of teams. Where can they go? And are you collaborating amongst your peers? A lot of times that's not happening. And so this idea of team one and team two, who's your team? Your team changes. So your team is no longer who reports to you. Your team is your peers, because the organization is expecting each silo to work together. That may not happen. So now your team one is your peers, and what you are doing together with your level, be it manager, director, or VP, to serve that agile transformation in that organization. And it might require some one-on-one coaching with the management team.
Okay.
but it's to have that empathy, right? So you, if I'm, on a team, I've really never had that experience of managing people. I've never had the experience of being responsible for P&L or to be judged based on my budget or returns. So, unless you have somebody that will, help you understand, their point of view, and then also you might coach you a little bit of saying, okay, what are they looking for? What's going to hit their buttons? And so no executive that I've run into buys into Agile for Agile's sake. They buy into it based on what it will give them in their normal metrics that they're used to.
What are some questions? Go ahead, Sakib.
The speed of delivery, the accuracy, or like the quality of the product. Yep.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just going to ask, Leon, I know being in situations like that where you're talking to an executive or maybe it's a middle manager, what are some questions to kind of get at? Because I think it's important to get at what's in motivating them and kind of understand, so you can make sure you're, painting the right picture. Because I'll be honest, I'm a developer by training, and I think, technology, but that's not what everybody wants.
No, I mean, so technology for technology's sake,
Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly.
And executives have had too many times where they've approved a big technology initiative and it's blown up, or it hasn't worked out how they want it to, right? So everything should be business-based.
Mm-hmm.
There should never be a technology initiative. There should be a business initiative. There should be an ROI to this. If you're not talking ROI, don't even bring it to an exec. Now, it could be very difficult to say, okay, I'm going to give you a actual number ROI or a business case. But what I would rather go to an exec with is, okay, you know what? In order to do that, let's do a pilot. You'll have to spend X amount of dollars. Let's do a pilot, and we'll do a pilot over 3 to 6 months, 90 days minimum. And we'll measure the output and efficiency of the team. And we'll give you a before and after. And then we'll come back in at 90 days, tell you where we are, maybe take it another 90 days, and get some actual data from the company. That's what you're really selling at first. Is it an experiment? Now, you don't want to say experiment. No executives like experiment. I like pilot or I like a pilot. Mm-hmm. And then so we can get data, and it's low risk, right? We're not doing this big bang at first. Let's do let's get data from our organization with our people. And then that could give you some insight into how we might go forward with this and what the ROI could be, and develop it from that. So if I'm talking to exec, I'm talking ROI, I'm talking, what are our big measures? Are we trying to increase membership? Are we trying to reduce costs? Are we trying to increase revenue? Are we trying to sustain or gain, customers? Mm-hmm. What are we trying to do? And then tie that agile transformation to those metrics that the exec's already looking at.
So Cliff, Rohit, haven't heard from you guys. Any questions for Leon?
Yes, I have a question. So, go on, Cliff. You go first then. Yeah.
No, I just want to say it's very pertinent and relevant to hit on this because I'm from a technical background too, done some project management. I'm not used to talking in terms of the business. I'm used to talking in terms of how to technically get the job done and base it on my competence and capabilities. And it's not been my habit to eat this type of a, coaching upwards. And for me, all this stuff I find very relevant and very fascinating and interesting, but it's almost like the upper and, people at my level are 180 degrees facing in the opposite directions.
Yeah. But if you think about it, if I want to sell you on a technical practice, I got to speak technical. I'm not going to convince you, Cliff or Tom or anybody else on to adopt a technical practice unless I can make a technical justification or a technical case to do this. And if I don't do it in your way, you're gonna be like, Leon quite doesn't get it, right? So that's how execs see the same thing. And the thing about it is that you can't make just a delivery argument, right? Because then you're essentially research and motion. Do you know who research and motion is? People that make Blackberries. Who has a Blackberry here? Who had a Blackberry 10 years ago?
I did.
So you could have the research and motion can have the best delivery, the best technology. It doesn't matter if people won't buy their product. It doesn't matter what technology they have. It doesn't matter what practices they have. It doesn't matter if they deliver every week new product. Who cares? So it's thinking about, okay, how does our technology and technology stack, support the business? Because here's a question to ask: is technology the business?
No.
Yes, technology is the business. You are the business. You are the business. And that's the thing to think about, is that there's an us versus them. There's, we're supporting the business. You are the business. Guess what? You're building those features that people buy in some way, right? It could be software, it could be non-software. But software is involved in everything nowadays, right? You can't have a product without software in some way. Software, hardware, it's all there. So thinking about that, and then getting a business mindset, and you can get people to help you to do that, okay? So get some people to help you to think about it from a business mindset. And then you got everybody thinking in a business mindset. Imagine if everybody said, to your organization, we have 5 main goals we're trying to achieve this year. We're trying to increase revenue. We're trying to maintain our customer base at 80%, that we're renewing customers. We're trying to reduce costs by X. And we have teams of people coming together in business and IT that are swarming around those goals and coming up with initiatives that we could work with in an agile way to achieve that. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Can I make a comment? You mentioned people needing to have their current role and not be so siloed.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably familiar with the term a T-shaped
Yep.
employee, and there may be resistance to that.
Sure.
And people not even understanding it or seeing the logic or common sense in it. It's a long haul to get from being an I-shaped employee to being T-shaped.
Correct. And this is where you need HR's help, because one of the things you're going to run into right away with Agile is, well, I report to my manager, and my manager gives me a single review. So I get a review from my one manager, but I'm on a team. So now I was outstanding last year. How am I going to be outstanding this year on a team when my team sucks? I'm clearly better than my team members. So I should be getting an outstanding also, shouldn't I? And if you're going to put me on a team and not give me outstanding, I'm not going to be happy. So I want to be able to stand out with my team. So I need to do stuff individually, right? I need to shine individually. Otherwise, I'm not going to get a rating that I want. So thinking about how people are salaried, how they're compensated, how they're bonused. Should we move away from individual? Should it be team? What does that look like? And what are the pros and cons to that? And then also, what incentive do I have to be a T-shaped person? What do I have? What's going to happen? Is the organization going to think I'm more valuable? Then what do I get from that? So thinking about what's in it for me, those things don't go away. They never go away because we're human. They will never go away no matter how people tell you that they will. No, I'm thinking about the team. No, you're thinking about yourself. So now it helps when you're on a team, you start to get bonded a little bit better and you start thinking more about other people and the team. But if you keep an individual structure of salary and report to a manager directly, that's going to create, some abrasion. That will create some conflict.
Rohit, I think you had a question, right?
Yes, hi, Leon. So I had a question, like when you start transformation, what's your first activity within, like, for example, you probably create a roadmap when you join as a consultant or a coach. So what's the first area you basically start? No?
I do an assessment. So
Assessment, okay.
whatever you're telling me, it's
Yeah.
like, it's like the TV show House. Everybody lies. So I cannot believe anybody. So I take what you tell me, but then I'll come in and do my own assessment and my own recommendations. If the thing about it is that a lot of people, especially execs, want change, but don't want to change themselves. And you really have to bottom line people and say, do you really want to change? Are you really care? Do you care about priorities? And one of the things I do with execs is I ask them to name their number one project without speaking to anybody. They have to just name their number one project at the company. Inevitably, they don't know the number one project at the company, and of 5 execs, they'll name 5 different ones. And then I'll say, okay, what does it mean that you have 5 different number ones? Are you working together as an executive team? And then what do you think everybody below you is doing? How are they working together to further the organization's goals? So I often start with that, where they say, wow, it looks like we're not aligned as an organization. We think we are, but we're not. You start off with that, and then they'll start to see it. If I come in and start to do something, I'm already making an assumption that everybody's on board. And what I've seen in every single case of transformation is not everybody's on board with this.
Yeah.
They just won't tell you. There's no,
Yes.
you don't know. Like, there's nothing that shows on your face that says I'm not on board with this.
Yeah.
The only way to do it is to test that out.
Yeah. So you basically start at executive and do assessment at executive level first and see what their priorities are, what they want to do, achieve out of your, your time with them, or, where
Yep.
they want to go, basically. Right. Yeah. So, okay.
And I want to point out
Yeah.
some assumptions that they have that could be wrong. Like,
Yeah.
Are they aligned in terms of priority? Are they supporting the teams, or are they sitting in a conference room just looking at PowerPoints all day?
Yeah.
Do they know their role in an agile transformation?
Yeah.
And I'll ask them, what's your role?
Mhm.
You
Cool.
tell me.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Thank you. I had one question, but I think we don't have time. It's only 2 minutes left. Yeah.
We can Tom, we can always do another round.
Sure. Next question was that obviously you've done a lot of probably transformation and part of a lot of organizations. Anyway, what are the main challenges you faced, like, and what are the main resistance you faced?
Yeah, I think if we can get rid of people, transformations go much easier.
Mhm.
So that's what I would say. Number one.
Get rid of all the manager.
Yeah. But it's culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and eats teams. And so the culture will kill a transformation, and that's the number one killer of transformations.
Yeah,
you can still do agile at the team level. I'll call it shadow agile, and still sort of have that work. But at some point, people are like, well, I guess this isn't going anywhere. And maybe that's okay. Like, for some teams, they're just like, well, great, I'll have my own little agile space, my agile corner, and that's good. Like, I'm happy. So, but I think if you don't really spend time on culture, time, money, at all levels, this is the culture change. Agile's a culture change. Period. Number one thing.
True. Yeah.
Focusing on that.
Yeah.
Leon, thank you so much for sharing a little time with us and answering everyone's questions. I had a lot of good questions, so I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too. Cheers. Have a good weekend, everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.